What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the Hit and Move Air Armor Precision Headgear. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, and you know me, I love reviewing innovative combat sports technology, and today we have the Hit and Move Air Armor Precision Headgear. And I'm so excited to do this review because, I really don't review safety equipment a lot, and people always comment and say, why don't you review more headgear, shin guards, mouth guards, cups? I don't review a lot of those things because unlike gloves, my hands don't get bothered by things, so I can wear anything and not worry about it, and know even if the glove sucks, at the end of the day, my hands will be safe, maybe a little sore, but compared to shin guards and especially headgear, I stick to one, maybe two things that I know are going to keep me safe. And in this case, I have literally replaced my headgear, all of it, with the Air Armor Precision Headgear by Hit and Move. And to see the development of Hit and Move over the last 4 years when they started to now is absolutely incredible. And Hit and Move has just slowly become one of, if not my favorite brands. And again, it's because they innovate combat sports in general. I almost said boxing, but because their slogan is boxing deserves better, but I agree with them and say combat sports deserves better, because if you look over the last century, realistically, it's been the same brands that people have been using since the early 1900s between Everlast, Winning, Reyes, Rival over the last couple decades, and Grant as well. But at the end of the day, so many people stick to those brands, and to get boxers to get off of the brands that they love or that they think is just the gold standard, and the fact that now that Hit and Move is starting to replace the gold standard in a lot of ways because of the technology and the science that's available today, and the fact that social media and marketing is so much different, and the fact that in 4 years Hit and Move has really changed the landscape of combat sports equipment is absolutely amazing. How many brands can you say basically had two people that Ozzy and his wife, the people that own Hit and Move, got into boxing as a hobby and to stay fit and do something to break the mold of just lifting weights, basically, who are orthopedic specialists at the end of the day, and got into boxing because they thought the boxing gloves they used sucked. And then they basically made it. They're like, oh, this would be the way to do it. So they're not just people saying, we designed this padding because. They said, we designed this padding, here's the science behind it. And the fact that they were able to get this tested by Virginia Tech, which in the United States is a very prestigious university, very hard to get into. I actually asked my cousin how hard it is to get testing done through Virginia Tech, and he said insanely, and it's not just college students going in and doing it as a final project. These are professionals in the field of sports technology that are actually testing the headgear that I have in my hand. That's incredible. How many other brands can you say really did that? Not too many, or not too many that are willing to release their results from Virginia Tech or other colleges or universities as well. So that's absolutely incredible, and that's why I've loved Hit and Move over the last 4 years. Now, I know what you're thinking. Al, they've sent you stuff. It's probably why you're saying good things to them. In this case, guys, the only benefit I got to this headgear was that I was able to buy these. And I say that again, I bought this. I was able to buy this before it was released to the public because Hit and Move wanted to send this to me, and I said, no, you have done plenty. You've sent me the mitts, you've sent me gloves, you've sent me everything you can think of. Let me buy one thing, please. And I did, and it's because I wanted new headgear anyway, and I wanted to be a customer for once and give you this review with that in mind, okay? Because I know some people will hear that things are sent to me, and I always say there are three things I would never want messed with, and that is my training, my money, which did get messed with a bit here because it's not cheap. It's not cheap, but still my health, my training, and my money. Those are three things I don't want messed with, and I don't want to mess with you on those two. And I'm going to talk about everything I love and dislike about the headgear, although there's not much to dislike with anything that Hit and Move has produced. Now, the other thing about this headgear over the last few months and seeing it, you have seen some of your favorite fighters from boxing and MMA as well. People just using Hit and Move in general, between Deontay Wilder, who I believe has a deal with Everlast, and Grant literally taping over his Hit and Move gloves. Then you also have Gervonta Tank Davis, Jaleel Major Hackett, who's an up-and-coming pro as well. I believe Carmel Moulton, I think is his name, is actually using hit and move equipment. And then you've seen so many other boxers. And now in MMA, Jeff Neal, a UFC ranked heavyweight. Heavyweight, welterweight. John Wood, who is the head striking coach at Syndicate MMA in Vegas. I believe Eric Nixick, who is the head coach for Francis Ngannou out of Extreme Couture, actually uses hit and move mitts as well. He replaces his winnings for those. And then on top of it, you've seen Triple C Henry Cejudo, former flyweight and bantamweight champion of the UFC, Olympic gold medalist in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And he also, because he has a great relationship with Rafael Cordero, who is the coach right now, he coached guys like Anderson Silva back in the day, but coaches as far as mitt work and stuff goes, Billy White is actually the head coach for Mike Tyson, but he's coaching Mike Tyson. And Henry Cejudo actually has a small clip, which I'll probably show, of him giving this piece of headgear to Mike Tyson.
I love this headgear because it's super light and it gives you more peripheral on the eyes.
It feels light too.
It is good, Mike. I promise you're gonna love that thing. You can see more, so it's open more here in the eyes.
It's really awesome, yes it is.
Yeah.
And he was known for using lighter, thinner headgear, and he said, this is the best headgear I've ever used. I think you're going to love it. And as a professional MMA fighter for myself, I was able to use this leading up to my last fight for at least 2.5 months. Over the last 2 months, I haven't been able to spar, obviously, with my knee surgery, but that should change. I should be cleared to box, at least, do stuff like that in the next month, which will be cool, so I'll be back to using this. But at the end of the day, this was the best headgear I've ever used across combat sports, whether it be boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, or MMA. For me, it is very versatile. Now, I know with all that stuff out of the way, I see the timer. It says I know I'm long-winded, but it's already been 5 minutes, and I just wanted to give you all the details about this outside of just what the headgear is, because headgear is relatively easy to explain in most cases. There's a bit more when it comes to this, but at the end of the day, let's go ahead and get into the model I got. So first off, I got this in the L/XL size because I have a bigger head. I am a fat-headed guy, and then I got them in the white coloration. This is the color they sent me. At the time, they only had black and white. I think at the time they might have only had white, but I think they have black, white, and red now, and the red looks really cool, and I would love to see what that looks like on a camera, because red just works better. Like, this shirt looks really nice on camera. I got a whole new wardrobe with my alumni stuff, and I love it. I love that I'm able to wear new stuff. That's besides the point. I'm getting off track. Again, I'm sorry. But basically, when it comes to this headgear, you can get them in 2 sizes. They're small/medium, and then L/XL, and it has the direct measurements online. I just can't remember the numbers in the back of my head. I'll put it across the screen so you can see it. But at the end of the day, it basically says 1 goes to 1, and then the other is that high number plus is basically what it comes to at the end of the day. And this fits my head just fine, when I was sparring in these. So the L/XL work perfect for my head. And you also have a lot of different adjustments you can make with the strings, which I'll talk about in a minute. But those are the colors you can get. Again, white, black, and red. And you can get them in 2 sizes, and most sizes will fit most, which is nice. So I like that. We get into the look of the, I almost said the glove, the look of the glove, because I review gloves. But when we get into the look of the headgear, you can see that, again, at the front, you kind of have those pieces of foam that give you that turtle-esque thing that they have from their turtle mitts. But we go into the center here, you can see that gold, really nice gold, hit and move logo. It says Air Armor underneath it, and I love how that looks. It's very plain and simple, but it looks elegant at the same time. White and gold always reminds me of like holy colors, like the Pope. And then when we come down here, we got the pieces of foam that have that turtle shell technology, kind of disperses the impact, which we'll talk about in a second. You have this again, it says Hit and Move Air Armor under there. And I'm pretty sure all headgear, because Mike Tyson wears the black one, and he has the same logo on his cheek here, and it's in gold, and that says Hit and Move Air Armor again, although it doesn't say anything on the other cheek, which is fine, and that works well either way. And then when we come to the side of, you can see, you can have the piece of foam here. You have the, unlike some headgears, which is just a complete open ear, this actually has a bar going across it, which stops some of the impact as well. We'll talk about that in a second, but that's also white. The stitching you can see is all whitish black. I think it's all white, honestly, and it's just the shadows from in between the stitching that makes it look black. When we come back to the laces, you can also see that we have white going up here and on the top of the head too, with all the different leather bonds that keep the laces in place. Those are also white. When we come to the inside though, which I think is really cool, I love the Hit and Move does this. You have a leather interior lining, and it has all the Hit and Move logos, and it says Hit and Move across all of them in white with a completely black background. So that actually looks really cool. I like the Hit and Move, put that little touch in there, and that's throughout the entire inside as well. So I really like that. It keeps your eye. I don't know what patterns those are called, but for whatever reason, those patterns, like when I learned about this when I was doing some type of psych thing for my job, we learned that certain patterns like calm people down, especially like I work with kids. So I don't know, for me it's a cool design to look at, but that's besides the point. So when we talk about the outer shell, we talked about Hit and Move over the last couple of years has actually done different things with their leather. They had one country's type of leather, then they moved to Turkish leather, and now that I believe they have a different type of leather too, and it has more of a high acidity content, basically meaning that it gets rid of the acidic nature of like your sweat, your blood, and those things. So it's very much stronger even than the upgraded version that they had on some other gloves that they had. So Hit and Move constantly looking to improve their product, which is absolutely amazing. And it's a pretty stretch tight leather layer on the outside here for the outer shell. I can't really reveal what country or what origin it is because they'd like that to be discreet, which is fine. All I can tell you, it's a very high quality European leather, and I'll let you speculate. I guess that much I was allowed to say, and it has such a clean leather smell. For me, it smells like a very brand new, like I won't say lambskin because I know most people don't use lambskin. Is much more for clothes and stuff. It's a lot more fragile. This for me is cowhide, but it smells like a brand new like lambskin or brand new leather coat. And I'm a leather addict. I love leather products in general. It smells like a brand new leather coat or brand new leather shoes or a brand new leather wallet. And you can tell that the leather was tanned very good and that it is a grained leather, a full grain leather, because you can see all the natural grain marks. So they didn't shave any of the imperfections to make it a flat line leather, which is absolutely awesome. So I love that. You can just see how it was tanned and tailored perfectly. So that's what I love about this leather. That's the one benefit of expensive equipment is whenever they have a really good leather, you can smell it. And I can smell, it smells like a very crisp, clean leather. Now, when we talk about the padding of the headgear itself, they have micro padding, they call it, on the different parts that you see here, similar to their turtle mitts, right? And the whole theory behind this, guys, is it basically confines the impact. It doesn't stop it. I gotta emphasize this ahead of time. I'm trying to fix that white balance thing. I don't know if you just saw that. It went from black to white with me. But basically, when it comes to any type of headgear, it is full out determined that nothing will stop impact. You're gonna get hit. To stop impact, you don't get hit at all, or you put something between you and the target. But in this case, you're putting just enough between you and the target to confine the impact so it doesn't hit you in a lot of ways. And when they did the testing, comparing it to different Japanese and Mexican style headgears, they noticed that because of the place padding here and other places, from the side of the temples, from the forehead, and from the cheeks too, that they noticed that there was comparable, and they can't say that there is more or less unless there's a significant mathematical margin, but all I can say is there was a big enough mathematical margin to say that there was enough to be comparable to other brands, if not better in certain areas, and it reduced impact, basically meaning that if you got hit with big clunky headgear, your head would snap back like this, whereas this one, it stays in place. So usually you would see that, but in this case, you'd see this, a little tiny dip that goes back. You hit the side, you see a little bit of a dip. Instead of my head turning like this, it stops it a little bit and I'm able to brace it. The other thing that they found helps that is the design of the eyes. Seeing the eye holes compared to some other pieces of headgear out there is you're able to have good vision and peripheral. If you see the little curves dug out underneath the cheeks, you're able to look out of the corner of your eyes. And for me, that's why I feel like I haven't really been caught with a really hard shot that's put me out, because I see things before they come, and I try to because my peripheral vision is very good, and that's what I'm very happy for. So I'm able to see those things out of the corner of my eye in this headgear and be able to go, okay, there comes a punch, maybe duck it or maybe block it, maybe roll with it if I had to, if I was a bit too late. And that's what I love about this. So that padding and the design has that nice like kind of windshield type look, and then on top of it, the padding is very, very soft and plush on the outside, just enough to be comfortable for your head and stop impact, well, not stop, but confine the impact into a very finite place. And the other thing about the turtle shell technology, it's just basic kinetic energy at the end of the day, and I looked it up a little bit just for you, that there's more for it to go through. So if you hit me dead center here, this piece of foam would do its best to stop the impact as much as it could, and then if it couldn't, it would start to disperse out this way. And guess what it does? It catches this piece of foam and that piece of foam, and then in the middle a little bit, and it stops it there. If it doesn't stop it there, it gets here. Okay, and then it starts to dissipate it as much as they can. So that's the cool thing about the turtle technology that they really have on the headgear itself, although I don't think they call it the turtle technology, but those small pieces of foam, just those tiny little changes. And I'm sure the foam composition itself, which I don't know exactly what specific foam they use, they just call it the micro padding. But at the end of the day, it stops the impact as much as it can. It confines it into one spot. And I don't think they call it the turtle. I think they just call it the micro padding right there. Then when we go to the ears again, you have a very nice cupped ear that actually hugs your ear. And I like that a lot. And you know what? Some people may not like it. Maybe some people would think it's too tight, but I like how it hugs my ear because you don't have it flapping around on your head at all. The other thing that you have is this bar going across, so when you get hit, it doesn't, you know, smash your eardrum, because there's so many different headgears out there, believe it or not, that don't have this here, this bar, right? But again, when your ear's exposed, and I don't know if you guys know this, but when you get slapped in your ear, it can break your eardrum. And that literally means your balance is just gone, right? So you don't want that when you're training, let alone here. And so I like that they have that bar there to stop just a direct ear impact from hitting the center of your ear, you know, maybe making that concussive hit that's just gonna really hit the eardrum really bad. Then the other thing, you have a nice piece of padding right here on the back that kind of stops from rabbit punching a little bit, and that's also good because sometimes when you throw a hook, or maybe when you're throwing an overhand, it might slip behind the ear a little bit, and you have that piece of padding to stop and disperse that as well. When we get to the very back, it's just very soft padding that you have on the back here, and I like how that feels. It feels like that insulation type foam, but it feels like a little bit firmer than that. You have really easy lace tracks on the back here. I always tape mine so they don't come undone. That's just an old habit that my boxing coach always had us do. So sometimes when I spar, it looks like I'm Yuri Prohaska, and I have the, you know, the big thing on top. I have the antenna like his hair. But at the end of the day, the lace track is very good. The eyelids are very slick, which is nice. And then again, when we get to the inside, it doesn't feel quite like the same leather on the outside. It feels more like that synthetic leather that you get from like Fairtex and stuff on the inside of their gloves. But it very well could be. For me, it doesn't smell fake, but at the end of the day, you never know. And then we talked about the cheeks, right? And I wanted to separate this a little bit because when we come to the cheek padding, you can see they're pretty round and bulbous. And then we go to the inside, it's caved in. So what it does is it actually hugs your cheekbone and covers it entirely. So instead of your cheekbone taking the brunt and pushing into it flat at a curved angle, now you have that curved angle hugging your cheekbone at all time with a big piece of fat padding. And I like that you have that. And then right below it for your chin too. So if you're getting hit flush in the chin, that's covering around the small part of your jaw and your chin. The other thing too about it is that the buckle snaps very, very easily, which is always good. And I like that it's just a basic plastic buckle. I hate metal buckles, and I hate the headgear that has plastic and metal on the same thing. I think it's kind of pointless. Now, fitting it on is very easy. I just take it, pull it down, I grab it from here, perfect. And then all I do, I think I got this a little bit looser than I need right here for the chin, but that's easy, guys. I don't know if you saw, I just pulled it tight. And for me, I adjust it a little bit more, but watch. It's not sliding anywhere at all. These don't really come off unless I pull it tight, but if I get hit here, again, you see how it's hugging my cheeks really easily. And again, that padding here for my chin, right? You can still hit me here in my nose a bit, but even still, with a big boxing glove, it's still gonna catch this piece of headgear first and this before it really hits my nose entirely flush. And the other thing I like, again, is I can see like my hand over here, it's kind of behind me, I can see the whole thing. If I put it here, this is what I mean, my peripheral vision is actually one thing I'm really proud of. If I look over here, I can see primarily the middle of my hand down. Whereas some other headgear, it's just way too bulky and you're not able to do that. I mean, compared to like this face saver headgear here, you know, and I do like this headgear. I'm not trying to trash Fight to Finish, but at the end of the day, I can't see very well out of this because of the big bar and everything like that. And it's also very light. I'm able to move my head really easy, you know, everything like that as much as I can. And it's nice because maybe like we're doing a Shark Tank situation when I'm training and I go hit the bag in the middle of the rounds of my sparring partners going, I'm able to hit the bag without the headgear getting in my way and stuff. But it's so light, it feels like there's nothing on my head. And I can compare the weight, honestly, to how I felt wearing this. My Cliff Keen wrestling headgear I wore throughout high school and college. I can compare it to this. you know, it feels as light as this. Obviously, this isn't quite as light, but it feels very comparable to that. But we'll talk about that more in a second. So what I did, guys, is since I can't really do bag work in this, it's going to be a bit of a longer video, but I actually did a test with my teammates Marissa and Jake. This is before I got hurt, so I had this footage ready to go for a bit of us just kind of taking, basically stupidly, we should never do this, but at the end of the day, taking some punches to the head, wearing the headgear compared to my last headgear, and just kind of giving our honest opinion. And this was the first day I got the headgear out of the box at that time. So let's go ahead and go into that, and I'll be right back with you with my final thoughts.
Let's compare my headgear, the Hit and Move headgear, with the rival headgear that I've been using for, this is my second pair in like 10 years. This was my #1 headgear versus Hit and Move's headgear. Let's see which one I like better. For the sake of the testing, as much as I want you guys to know how good the headgear is, don't concuss me. Don't give me a good, like,
Don't try this at home.
give me a good 70% shot in the head. The first test is you can see if my head will shoot back or shoot in at all compared to the other one. And this one's much thicker and heavier. All right, your right hand. Yep, go ahead. One more. A little harder. Yeah, see, so like, one more. Yeah, so that's bouncing my head back. Go here, not on the ear.
Yep.
I'm gonna cover my ear, right here, straight. Again. One more. Good. Left hook. Yep. Yeah, okay.
The first one's a little hard.
But I'm curious to see, because it feels like there's nothing on my head really, and I'm able to move. It feels like wrestling headgear, honestly. Forward. Again. Again. That's actually crazy. I don't feel it. Go again. A little harder. Again. Again. That's fucking nuts. My head's not moving, is it?
No.
No, okay. Go again. Again. A little bit.
Just
there,
a little
ladies.
bit, yeah.
A little bit.
That was the hardest.
Go here. Yep. All right. So after I had Jake punch me, and by the way, these are 12-ounce bag gloves too, just so I could really get the understanding of how much impact that they absorb. When I used the rival headgear, this has been my favorite headgear that I used throughout a lot of my amateur competition that wasn't my face bar headgear. And all I can say is I really liked it because it was really light to me back in the day. But now that I put this on, it feels like I have wrestling headgear on, like the little 2 ear cups. There's not a lot of weight to these. I'm able to move my head a lot with these too, which is awesome. The other thing is that there's like, you can see that there's actually thinner padding in this piece of headgear. But I felt more impact absorption, whereas this, I could really feel the headgear like push into my skin. It was really uncomfortable, and I didn't like that. But with these, I just felt like every time it hit, it just stopped the impact on target. And every time Jake hit me harder and harder, and I asked him to hit me harder, and it also didn't feel like my head was snapping. And I told Marissa, who's the camera woman right now, asked her, can you really see if my head snaps? And she said, after the first 3 punches, your head's not moving. So this is actually really incredible for me. And also, me and Jake are both MMA fighters. I'm a pro and he's an amateur. But being able to grapple in this, which I have a few times, especially leading up to my fight, except for this, you know, that was my bad. I wasn't sparring with headgear that day like an idiot. These don't move around a lot. Every time Jake hit me, it was fine. But when he was hitting me with the other headgear, it was moving around a ton. So overall, I'm really impressed, just like from the field test, I guess we would call, as much as I don't like getting hit in the head, I'd rather get hit with this on than anything else I've used. It's crazy that Hit and Move, only being around after 4 years, basically created the solution to headgear. A little harder. You see how your head, yeah, throw it over here. Kind of.
It's a little rough, but it's
And the headgear is like moving on your head too, right?
it slips up the second shot he hit me in. That's why my
Slipped
head
there.
snapped back, because it slipped up too.
Yeah. Any harder?
Way better, harder. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Right hand. Okay. Here. Like, it doesn't feel good to get hit still, obviously.
It never feels good to get hit, but honestly, it absorbs it.
Yeah.
You can feel it absorb it, and you can feel that your neck is doing a lot less work.
Yeah, for sure.
I can definitely see the difference in like the snapback from like this angle.
Honestly, it
with
might
that
sound
one, it
weird.
doesn't snap quite as much.
That's great.
It might sound weird, but I believe that the head doesn't snap as much because of the lightweightness of it.
That
Right.
makes a lot of sense, actually.
Since that's heavier on your head, it's going to make it move.
Yeah. Forehead.
It feels very bulky on my head. Like I can't really like move around when I have it on.
Right.
It's so much easier to put on, isn't it?
It just like slides right on. Oh,
Easy
yeah.
adjustment right off the bat.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
That's what I like about it, because every other like amateur headgear has like the metal buckle, and I hate that, especially for MMA, because we can pull up the mats and stuff.
Right.
Like I said, it doesn't feel good, but
No,
like
but I feel
noticed.
like I can definitely take more.
Yeah,
in
instead
that.
of your head going back, it's going in.
Right.
I prefer it to go in than back.
Right.
Yeah, so again. Here.
Oh yeah.
She's visibly taking those shots way better.
Yeah, yeah. And
I
I'm
know, I
hitting
feel
just.
like I'm taking it.
I'm hitting actually a little harder too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I could have taken like a little bit harder than that too, and been fine.
So Jake's behind the camera too now, but in short, you know, if you were to choose which headgear off of just overall comfortability, protection, and everything else like that, which one would you choose?
Definitely the one.
Definitely the white one.
Definitely the white one.
The white one. So hit and move all the way, huh?
Oh yeah. It
Okay.
feels better. I can take more in it.
Yeah.
It's a lot lighter weight.
A lot lighter weight. You're able to move your head a bit.
Yep.
Absolutely. I agree entirely. You know, just taking it. I never thought I'd get hit just for the fun of it, for testing. But for sure, I think hit and move, especially for MMA fighters, for me, I know I'm coming from an MMA standpoint. I did box. I wish I had this as an amateur boxer when I was competing. And on top of it, for me as an MMA fighter, being able to wrestle in this and have it not move at all is incredible. So there's the field test right off the bat. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
All right, folks, so my final thoughts on the hit and move. All right, folks, so here's my final verdict. All right, folks, my final verdict for the hit and move Air Armor Precision Headgear is that, like I said, the best headgear I've ever used, hands down. You know, just the innovative technology that goes into it, and I'm just glad that there's something. You know, even with my mitts, I sold all of my mitts for the hit and move turtle mitts and stuff like that, because I really like to stick to one or two things when it comes to different safety equipment that is going to make sure that I'm good to go when it comes tomorrow, you know what I mean? And that's what I love about this headgear, is that it just fits me perfectly. It's very light. I'm able to move in it, and I feel safe and protected in it. And I was so happy I was able to show you that equipment testing with me and my two teammates, Marissa, who's getting ready to fight, who's been training for 3 years, and then Jake, who has had 3 or 4 amateur MMA fights as well. And here's the thing, guys, our gym, we don't really spar with headgear so much, which might sound stupid to a lot of people. We don't really spar that hard enough to really warrant the headgear like that unless we have fights coming up, right? You know, and that's the thing. When we have fights coming up, we do wear headgear, and we hate it because as MMA fighters, if we get like a front headlock, our headgear is all over the place and it flops and everything like that, and it's never good. And then at that point, you get guys that are coming in using headgear similar to this, like wrestling headgear. But at the end of the day, guys, it doesn't really do much to protect your whole head. It protects your ears from cauliflower ear, but honestly, I would make more of an argument for college wrestling to get rid of headgear compared to the Olympics and boxing to get rid of headgear, because it makes more sense for this. You know the risk of cauliflower ear. I think there should be an option, or you should use cloth types of headgear instead if you want to use things like that. But this doesn't really, for me, stop brain damage compared to something like this. And I don't care what anyone says. My opinion on this whole thing is, yes, you can get brain damage if you don't, more of it too, if you don't wear headgear, especially when you spar, especially when you guys spar so much. And there's proof in the pudding from different people that never use headgear to spar. But the fact that guys like Mike Tyson and Henry Cejudo are switching this too as well, you know, Mike Tyson, who never sparred in headgear really, unless, again, he was coming close to a fight, because really the whole design of a headgear, and Cuss's theory was, because Cuss told my coach, they were actually really good friends way back when, basically, headgear was really just thought to stop cuts. When Jake Galome and Jack Dempsey, the former heavyweight champion of the world, got together, basically Jack Dempsey said, I need something that's going to stop cuts from happening before my fights. And that was the whole idea behind that. And Jake Galome, founder of Everlast, made headgear to stop cuts. But now science has gone on so long, and we know that, oh, this can mitigate brain damage quite a bit, actually, which is good. And that's what Hit and Move also looked into, a lot of different concussion and CTE testing as well, to make sure that you have the best safety. Now, talking about this again, I know some people are partial for like face bar headgear, and that's why I had a face bar headgear here. And the headgear I was using in the testing was the Rival Classic headgear as well, that I love to use. But at the end of the day, this headgear here by Fight to Finish, great brand, by the way. Go check out Fight to Finish. I love their stuff. A lot of their things are winning-esque, but they have their own twist on it, including this headgear. Now, why I like Hit and Move more is for a couple reasons. For one, Face bars are great, especially if you have something like a bad nose or if you really want to stop cuts. But for me, sparring in like MMA with this wasn't all that great, and even sparring in boxing kind of wasn't the best compared to. They're better than most headgear I did use. It was kind of the option I had available. But at the end of the day, when you would get hit, your head would just constantly, like if I put this on, you can see that. Watch how much this moves on my face, even when I buckle it. Let's see, I'll buckle it. So for one, it doesn't really feel attached to my face. Even the face bar, I know it's supposed to be separated, and this is supposed to be separated, but it literally feels like there's like 2 inches of like this just in between my head. Like my fingers are in between the headgear in my head right now, and it's strapped tight to my head too. I just adjusted it before sitting down, and that's the thing about it too. The other part is you see how my chin's like a lot more exposed, and although it should stop nose strikes, but at the same time, you know, it will a little bit, but I can still touch my nose just fine with a bigger boxing glove on, not so much. The other thing too is my ears, like you can see the ear holes here, my ears are actually more like here, and you can kind of see that. This is like the end of the start of my ear right here with the ear hole, whereas the ear hole is more in the back of my head. And like I said, I just adjusted this, and it just moves around a lot. So I get hit, and it just, the whole thing just like fixed this way, and it should be right there. Micro different things, but it's a game of inches to begin with, and that's frustrating. At least I had just a plastic buckle, which I like. That and the padding's so stiff, and even having it on for as brief as I did, you can feel it like when you do finally get it stretched to your head, you can feel it just, and it just feels like a really hard surface is just pressing against your head. And really, after I used a lot of other headgears throughout my life, that's why I like the rival ones, because I didn't get a compression headache. And that's what happens a lot. People think, oh, I got a headache from sparring. You got a headache because you strapped the headgear too tight because it's always moving. Boxers can agree with me there. I got compression headaches all the time with different types of headgear. The other thing too is how much heavier this is. So moving my head with this on, you know, wasn't as easy, and it was a lot more bulky too. You can see how this kind of points out a lot more compared to this, which is very narrow and sits and molds to my head. Moving my head like this, I mean, like my ear again is that far in. It's like almost a full finger in from the ear hole. But here's the thing, I'm getting hit because of how bulky and big it is. And like I said, it's still a very good headgear, and I like it compared to a lot of other face guard headgear that I've used in the past. But for me, at the end of the day, I still think that this is just between the weight being different and between how light it is and how much softer this headgear is, it just blows like face guard headgear out of the water. And like I said, this is supposed to be replicated after like a winning-esque headgear. The other thing too, I hate using the scales, especially when it comes to gloves. People are like, oh man, it's 0.3 ounces off. Who cares? You're gonna train in it anyway. But when we weigh this on the scale, if you can see it at all, let's see. We have 9.7 ounces here, okay? I don't know if you can see that at all. 9.7 ounces there. And then when we take this headgear, we put it on, and obviously you have to take into account that we got the face bar added too. But that is, stay on, that says 13.5 ounces. So, I mean, that's something you gotta take into consideration too. And then we come into the wrestling headgear, my bad, wrestling headgear by Cliff Keen, which I used throughout college, which I think, honestly, you could make an argument that you could not use headgear in college or high school wrestling compared to not using headgear in Olympic or amateur boxing, you know, but that's a different story. But we put this on here. Let's see what this weighs. 5.7. So this, realistically, guys, that's kind of crazy. That's really crazy, actually. 2 pieces of foam, super light. This is only about 1.5 ounces heavier. So that's crazy. And this was 13 ounces. And you know, we'll even take away the face bar weight, and we'll say that maybe it would have been 10 ounces. But regardless, that's still a 3-ounce jump from this headgear to everything else. So I just wanted to kind of give you that comparison here so you can see what you're getting into. The other thing that I liked is that just how light it is on my head and how I'm able to move. And when I grapple in these guys, it doesn't move. It stays put. I was able to spar, and I purposely will put my head in guillotines and front headlocks with my teammates when I first got this, just to see if it would move at all, and it just wouldn't. It stays glued to your head, and it's not uncomfortable either. The interior is so smooth on my head like this, and I love that. So when we come here, it feels really nice, and when it straps tight, right? We'll strap this up and I'll pull it tighter. Again, it stays stuck to my head. It's not moving anywhere. The cheeks are flush, and on top of it, the interior lining, that type of leather material is just nice and smooth on my skin, and it doesn't feel like it's just tightening across my head so much to where I'm gonna have a headache either. I've never had a headache using this, and that's the one thing, because then, because of brain damage worries, you get worried like, oh my God, did I get a headache from sparring? But here's the thing, I spar without headgear, I don't get headaches. I would spar with headgear, I'd get headaches. Not with this. And that just proves to me it was a compression headache, which does happen if you like stretch your hats too tight and stuff like that to your head. But that's basically what you got. The one thing I think people may not like about the headgear, if you are not at a position to do this, is it is expensive. Okay, it's $256, which is a lot of money for people. I chose to buy it. Granted, I use the PayPal Pay in 4s because those are like lifesavers when it comes to buying new equipment, because a lot of stuff is expensive nowadays, folks. But basically, at the end of the day, guys, when it comes to this, it is $250. I would consider it a very high-grade professional piece of equipment. I hope one day that, you know, people will understand that this is the headgear and the way to go to make people safe, and that designs like this, not necessarily from other brands, but designs like this from Hit and Move can maybe be brought down in price because they sell so much of it, maybe that they're able to save a couple bucks. But $250, I actually had a few of my friends from Connecticut that fight. My friend Yuri Panfroff just fought for CES again, moved up to 9-1 against another Dana White's Contender Series guy. He was the guy that fought Torres Finney, actually, if you don't know who I'm talking about. But he asked me, he said, hey, I need good headgear to spar in. Is this stuff good enough? And he did buy it and told me that it was the best headgear he's ever used too. And he was a New York State boxing champion as well, Connecticut and New England Golden Gloves winner, which is awesome. So not only does he have boxing experience, but he also has the MMA experience as a pro right now too. And he was able to grapple in them. That was the one thing he told me. I can't believe I'm able to like wrestle and grapple and this isn't moving anywhere. So it's not just me, take it from a pro like Yuri. But it was an investment. That was the first thing he said was, $250 is a lot of money for headgear. And it is. But also if you look at winning headgear or Reyes headgear or rival headgear for some cases, you're looking around the same price. I think winning headgear goes for upwards of $300, and I think Reyes headgear goes for about $200 still. So I mean, for a professional piece of headgear for in between that price, that's better. I would just say go for this, because for $250, I think that's a great deal when it comes to this as far as that goes. Now, if it was under $200, I think they'd be just hands down, everyone would sway up to this and they wouldn't be able to keep up with production. But that is my opinion. Now, if you were to ask me like a rating 10 out of 10, and like I said, I love doing the tier system too. 10 out of 10 for me, obviously. If I haven't talked highly enough about this, it gets a 10 out of 10 for me, and I would put it at that S tier of excellent equipment when it comes to me, just because it feels like it was designed for my head. It keeps me safe. I'm able to do everything I want to do in this headgear, from wrestling, from jiu-jitsu, from MMA sparring, from boxing, anything I can think of. And having my teammates try this too over the last couple months, with my knee injury, and have them say, oh my God, it's like nothing's on my head at all. That's what I love about this. So I wanted to do a longer review, and I wanted to get it out before the big Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight tonight, because again, guys like Mike Tyson are using this headgear. I'm rooting for Mike Tyson. I've been able to meet him a couple times now and talk with him, and he's the coolest guy. And I'm hoping that he stays safe out there tonight. Almost 60 years old. He looks phenomenal. I tell you what, does he look like the Mike Tyson of old? No. But I would love to move the way he moves at 58 years of age. I know my dad is his age. They were born the same year, a few months apart. And my dad says, oh my God, he just looked down at himself. He's like, what did I do wrong? Things like that. So I'm hoping that he wins. As much as people hate Jake Paul, I think he is skilled. And I think that he does carry a heavy punch. And I think he's dedicated, and that is dangerous. But at the end of the day, I'm rooting for Mike Tyson. And I wanted to, since he was using this headgear, release this before the big fight tonight and, say Mike Tyson uses this headgear. So that's really cool. Hit and Move, again, one of my favorite brands out there. They innovate everything, and I'm just happy that they let me buy something from them for once. and I would buy it again and again, you know, because as much as I don't use Headgear as much as other people, when I do use this, it just blows everything out of the water. And especially now that for the next couple months I'll be boxing a little bit more than I would be grappling because of my knee surgery, I'll be wearing this a lot more if I'm just going to be punching. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions at all, comment below, share this with your friends, and remember, we're at 10,300 subscribers already. Can't believe that. We're already pretty close to 11. So all I want you guys to do, hit that subscribe button, share this with your friends, let them know that this is the place to go for combat sports reviews. A couple more videos coming out soon. Again, we're going to do a little bit more than just gear reviews over the next couple months and see how that goes, and I'm just excited to bring you your source of combat sports. As always, comment below what you want to see me review next, and again, like I said, if you have any questions, reach out to me on my social media pages too. I got rid of the Facebook, but I am still on my I have the X or Twitter, whatever it is. I don't ever use it, but I'm still on Instagram and TikTok quite often if you ever want to reach out, or the email's available on the page as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you had a great time, and I hope you have a great day. Happy training, stay safe, eat your I almost said eat your vitamins and brush your teeth. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm going down the hills. Have a great day. Why don't we just do that, everybody? So thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one.